News Radio 600, Kogo.
Kogo News Time, 541.
At least 12 people are dead, 50 more injured after a truck plowed into a busy Christmas market in Berlin Monday evening. And there is little doubt it was a terrorist attack.
Dr. Alex Del Carmen is a terrorism analyst, heads up the School of Criminology, Criminal Justice, and Strategic Studies at Tarleton State University in Fort Worth. Dr. Del Carmen, this is the same MO as the attack in Nice. At least that's what it looks like. So what is the appropriate response?
Thanks for having me this morning, and you're absolutely right. This is exactly the same MO that we saw in Nice, France, a few months ago. And I think, unfortunately, it's going to happen again. As far as what can we do to prevent it, what are the things, what are the implications, what is the response, we have to be able to almost, with some degree of certainty, assume that this is going to happen again. So law enforcement have to take those measures to be able to prevent a truck going into a crowd of innocent people and killing dozens of them.
So now, do we have to be extremely careful anytime we go to a place that's crowded, because New Year's Eve is coming up?
Right. So, I always tell people that crime is going to be part of your life based on what kind of life you live, right? So the idea of going somewhere public where there are large numbers of people, football games. You've got a lot of football games coming up. You've got the New Year's bash all over the country. You've got the parades coming up for Christmas. So any of these large gatherings of people are always going to be presenting a threat to the rest of us that are going to be part of that event. Unfortunately, we can't live our lives in fear, so we simply have to be situationally aware of where we're going and what the exits are, and sadly, where a truck could come in and basically kill people.
What about security for events like that? I mean, is it safe to assume that there's really just only so much you can do as a government to try to prevent this sort of thing?
That's exactly right. And I think law enforcement, they really have their hands full right now because they have to be thinking and planning ahead. I know in places like New York and other places around the nation, they are going to have to assume that this is going to happen. And so by virtue of that, they're going to have to be thinking and planning very carefully how they're going to strategize and prevent. If not prevent, definitely kill the person that is behind the wheel of the truck, where they can expose the least amount of people to that kind of danger. And so, but at the end of the day, I mean, they won't be able to be successful 100% of the time. Law enforcement never is, and unfortunately, we can't. We just cannot do it 100% of the time. So we're going to have to do the best we can, but sometimes that's just not good enough.
Do you know what details, if any, have emerged about this suspect?
The German law enforcement community is keeping it very, very close to their chest right now, although I suspect that FBI and various other entities from our government are helping them and at the very least being informed, as far as what connections to the U.S. this person may have, what other attacks he may prompt throughout Europe and perhaps on U.S. soil. And so we do that customarily whenever something like this happens. But the information that they want to leak or release to the press is what we're seeing right now. And unfortunately, there's not much else that's being released at this time.
Man, so we're seeing probably some increased security at holiday events, places where people are supposed to go and have fun. But you mentioned, we can't just be paranoid. And we can't avoid crowds because, I mean, what is the point? It sounds trite, but the terrorists win.
That's right. And if you look at the definition of terrorism, I mean, terrorism in itself implies the idea of a psychological state of mind where the person that walks anywhere, that goes to work, that takes their kids to an ice rink, those individuals are going to live constantly under terror. And so we don't want to give in to those enemies of the United States that are going, and the Western world, that really want us to curtail and affect our lives every single day, living in fear that they exist. While at the same time, that's happening on one side of the brain, the other side of the brain has to be conscious of the fact that we have to be situationally aware. We have to make plans, contingency plans. We have to be able to warn our children and our loved ones of what to do in the event something like this happens.
Terrorism analyst Dr. Alex Del Carmen joining us on the Kogo News Live line this morning. We appreciate it.